Hello my kin, my name is Kin Ping, but you can call me Kin, and I'm back with another Rakarth Immortal Empires Beasts Only campaign challenge video, and today we're just expanding on what we did last time. If you have not watched the first 4, then I suggest you go and watch those, because then you'll have actual context to what this is. I've explained in the other videos how this challenge works, and in the description there will be some rules that I keep by when doing this campaign. So, in the last video, we started our destruction on Tehenhauin. So we have slowly been absolutely annihilating Tehenhauin, and we have just killed him for a second time, and now his lands are basically undefendable. And we also got that there if you ever want to go over to, I think it's over to the Cathay area that one goes to. So yeah, we're just on the warpath at the moment. We got a Stegodon as well. We've got a pretty good army. We've even started making a second army as well. So during turn 1, obviously I moved my people forward, but I saw these dwarfs and they were quite a threat. Even though their army was, you know, trash, they were there, and that was always going to annoy me, I think. But luckily, even though I don't like Skaven, luckily Skrulk was there and it looked like he was going to take them out. I also saw that the Bloodhall Coven was looking very nice for a Confederation, which I really wasn't sure on. They were 9 was a good, you know, I could get a lot of money out of that, but I wasn't sure, because if people really wanted a Confederation, then they obviously weren't doing too well. And I guess that it was Marcus Wolfheart. He was going to end up being a big challenge, and I welcomed it. I think Marcus Wolfheart, he's going to be a pain in the ass to fight, but it's going to be some really fun fights. So I was looking forward to that. But eventually, I decided it was Confederation time, and boom, I got their 2 settlements and their army, and yeah, it became clear that they were pretty weak. However, the Apostles of Change, I got a defensive alliance with them as well, which I thought was good. They gave me a little bit of money, and it was nice having one other faction there, which I could actually, like, try and be friends with, you know. Hopefully they could benefit from my troops, because I obviously couldn't benefit from theirs. But I had to get rid of this whole army. This is a beast only challenge, remember, so I had to get rid of them. I didn't realize, however, which was completely my fault, I did not realize that this guy was on low leadership. I mean morale, or whatever, loyalty. He was on low loyalty. Literally 0 loyalty. That's why I could not disband, because this guy was going to revolt. It took me off guard. I didn't even see it here. I did not realize that that man, no loyalty at all, until the rebellion started. I also disbanded 2 of the masters that they had. That was just upkeep, which I didn't really need. So now I was finally out of negatives. I'd cleaned up everything that the Blood Coven had given me, and I was looking okay now. It was just not going to end well. So just in case, I decided to move my second army, Helen, up to just be there for defense if I needed it. And I decided to move a little bit closer with Rakarth as well. I was probably going to end up having to fight these Beastmen as well, because they were being annoying. Also, Skaven, they were doing their thing. I realized that they were probably getting pretty strong. They were clearly going to take out the dwarfs. Halfway through the end turn, the Apostles of Change, who I just allied myself with, asked for me to join war against the Bretonian expedition. I didn't want to. I really didn't want to. I had a lot of enemies as it was now, and I didn't want to fight someone else, because I knew he was probably going to smash his way through into my territory. However, on the start of the turn, I found out that the Lord defected, and that really took me by surprise. I had no idea. I think this is the first time this has ever happened to me in any campaign, so I was really taken off guard. I was quite surprised, really. I had the 2 settlements. I kind of gave up on them. I couldn't properly defend them with that rebellion army there, and with the Hunts Marshal having big armies there as well. And I was correct, the Skaven did destroy the dwarfs. They annihilated one of their armies, but the dwarfs still had their settlement, which was annoying. And then with Rakarth and his big boy army, I charged my way into the Copper Landing. So this was obviously a very easy fight. I think this is where the Beastmen must have got taken out, because the garrison was pretty wounded. I did consider maybe fighting it for a cool cinematic, but I eventually decided against it and just ordered it, and it was easy peasy. And obviously hoping to get some monsters from taking it, but I did not get any. However, I got another settlement in the Copper Landing. I just had to go take the Dust Gate and I will have all of the Copper Desert. At this point, I was pretty confident that I was just going to absolutely steamroll Tehenhauin. I also moved Hullen up into my main province just as a protection net. I decided that I didn't really need him around here. Lord Skrulk was getting close to my stuff, but I was confident he probably wouldn't attack me. And that was the end of turn 39. At the start of turn 40, my allies began to build an outpost in the Great Turtle Isle, which I thought was nice. And obviously, the rebels sieged my settlement, as well as 2 full Hunts Marshal armies coming in, and Albert himself coming to destroy the Apostles of Change. So, stuff was not looking good on this side of the map. I decided to rally out anyway, try and finish them off, which in hindsight probably wasn't the best idea, because I should have left them there to fight the Hunts Marshal, but I didn't actually think of that, which is a shame. However, they were destroyed, and the Hunts Marshal was here, ready to quite literally obliterate my 2 settlements, and I'd given up on them anyway, so it wasn't a major loss. However, I knew my income was going to come down because they were giving me a decent amount of money. However, Harlan was here, and Harlan could protect, especially with the garrison that the Chamber of Visions would soon have, as I was building my garrison building here. A Skaven army was also coming too close for comfort towards my lands, which I wasn't sure about. I still wasn't sure about these Skaven. They seemed to be leaving me alone, but I wasn't too sure at the moment. The armies, however, weren't good enough that I couldn't take them on. I was confident I could take on at least one of the Skaven armies without losing any unit. Then I moved Big Man Rakarth again, this time deciding to just move a little bit closer and do some raiding. I knew Tehenhauin was there, but he wasn't recruiting, so he wasn't an immediate threat, so I could afford to spend a turn to just do some recruiting. Well, to do some raiding and hopefully get some monsters to recruit. And then disaster struck halfway through the end turn. We had an army attack one of my settlements, and I actually did consider playing it for a little bit, but obviously I just ordered it. I lost pretty bad, really. And then they took it. So they were going to be a massive threat. It was only a matter of time until they took the Blood Hall, and it was only a matter of time until they came down, and Harlan would have to protect my whole province from them. At the start of turn 41, however, my raiding paid off and I got a feral wyvern, or I'm not exactly sure how to say that, but I got another beast, which I was really excited about, but that excitement was kind of overclouded by the sudden attack of the Hunts Marshal and Albert. My allies were basically screwed. I knew that. My allies were gone. They only had 1 lord left. So I decided to leave that for later, and I was going to go and take the Dust Gate to complete the province of the Copper Desert. So I attacked with Rakarth. It was another easy win since Tehenhauin had left. I got a banner as well, which I put back on my sorceress, and then ordered it. And now I had a large majority of Tehenhauin's settlements, so I was looking pretty good. And then, as I had feared, at the start of turn 42, my Apostles of Change got annihilated, and now the Hunts Marshal was sending an army to take the Blood Hall. I had thought about building, like upgrading the settlement in the Blood Hall to try and do some damage, but I thought it was pointless. They were going to take a couple turns to get there, but once they got there, they'd easily take it, so there was no point trying to build defenses. And with Rakarth, I decided to keep the attack going because I knew if I kept pushing constantly, I'd eventually wipe these guys out, and I needed to wipe Tehenhauin out because he was being a real bitch, basically. Kept running away, and he kept recruiting like half-decent units. He had stuff like Croxagors and everything. And I also made sure to check the Chamber of Visions. It had a pretty decent garrison with a unit of shades and stuff. So while it wasn't perfect, it still wasn't half bad, and I had the Stegodon and like the dragon thing and the elite regiment of renowned harpies to that I could instantly recruit if I needed them, which I probably was going to. Then of course, start of turn 43, the Hunts Marshal, well, not him himself, but one of their armies continued to make their way towards the Blood Hall. And I wasn't sure what to do. I had no allies, but I also saw that the Bretonnians had declared war on some of the Lizardmen, which I knew would keep them occupied for a little bit. The Dwarfs didn't seem to be any threat either. And I finally had Tehenhauin in my grasp, so I attacked. But, of course, he ran, which obviously it was not surprising, but it was kind of annoying. So I decided to go back into raiding stance. The start of turn 44 was actually pretty eventful. Rakarth got a good bonus, as well as Hullen. But one of my settlements received plague for some reason. I assume that was from the Skaven, and my technology popped. And I got feral cold ones. So I was doing very well. I finally had a lot of really good backup beasts if I needed them. And I was now feeling really confident that if the Hunts Marshal did attack, Hullen would actually be half decent and be able to take them out. So I attacked yet another one of Tehenhauin's settlements, which was a Pyrrhic victory to auto-resolve, but I didn't lose any units, and so I didn't really want to fight a siege battle, so I simply auto-resolved it. I actually got a lot of damage, which I probably should have expected from a Pyrrhic victory, and I sacked it because it gave me a lot of money, nearly 6,000 gold. So that was good. However, I would realize that that was a bit of a mistake. My army was really wounded, and Tehenhauin was recruiting more units right beside me, so I was actually in a little bit of trouble. And then it hit. Tehenhauin attacked, gave me a valiant defeat. His army was pretty good, and I knew that I would have to fight this. So this, guys, is the first land battle cinematic you will be seeing in this campaign. I hope you guys enjoy it. And there you go, we managed to annihilate Tehenhauin's army, and with Rakarth on a slither of health. I thought it was a pretty awesome fight. It was actually really fun to play, and obviously I needed some replenishment afterwards. So the rest of that end turn went pretty quietly, and well, obviously my settlement was getting besieged, which I knew I would lose, so I was just gonna keep them there for as long as they wanted to siege until they attacked. I also had a right ready, but I decided that would be for next turn. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, my kin.